Hey, everybody. We are live. I am here with another LinkedIn Live Q&A, broadcasting and simulcasting other places today. And this is the second time we've done this on LinkedIn. We're so excited. It is the 15th time we've done a COVID-19 Q&A. And today I'm going to be doing two things. I'm going to be answering questions that we got from our webinar mini series that we're doing currently that's half over. And so I'm going to be answering questions from both of those first two mini webinars, but there's two more of those to come. On Monday, my co-author of the book, A Long Distance Leader, is Wayne Trammell, is going to lead one called Productivity Tips on Working from Home. And on next Wednesday, I'm going to lead one called 3 Mindsets that will help you move forward and set you up for success. And then next Friday, we're doing another live Q&A. We're not sure where we're going to do it yet. Maybe we'll do it here. But we're going to do a live Q&A for all of those people that have registered. Well over 2,000 people that have registered for that. You can still join us for the remaining mini webinars at the link that is there below. Feel free to do that at that link. So I'm going to answer questions. I have 5 questions from one or the other of those two webinars that I'm going to answer today. And I'm going to take the questions that you give me as well. Now, I did this last night. If you happen to be watching last night and you were on LinkedIn, you're saying, well, why is Kevin not commenting on our comments? Well, I learned that our new process doesn't allow me to see those comments because I'm not actually streaming from LinkedIn itself. So we're learning. So today I have a sidekick. She is not here visually, but she's here verbally. Marissa, say hello.
Hello, hello.
See, there's Marissa. I said say one hello, Marissa, not two. But anyway, so she's monitoring the LinkedIn. So if comments or questions come in there, it's beautiful. She's going to let me know what those comments are. She's going to share those questions there. But if you have a question and you're on YouTube or if you're on Facebook, I'll see them. And I can actually add them right here. We can go from there. Okay. So Marissa is my sidekick. I am ready to go. We've got 5 questions. Let's dive in. Question number 1, how to influence a positive attitude with my team when a few team members only see the negative in everything. While as a leader, we are try, it's never enough. No one's ever experienced this before, ever, right? No positive person has ever felt this situation. Let me say a couple things. First of all, I love how the question is framed, how to influence, because that's all we can do. We can't change someone else's attitude. It's not possible. We can't make them be happy. We can't make them be sad. We can't make them be less worried. What we can do is try to influence. So this person has said, I've tried a bunch of stuff, can't get everybody. A couple things. You may not be able to get them. Some people are entrenched. They're there. It's a long-term habit. And even as my dad used to say, they'd complain even if they were hung with a new rope. So it's possible you're never going to get somebody, right? But let's talk. So first of all, we're going to do this from a place of influence. That's the first thing. But I would say that even if you're leading your team remotely now, we know that negativity is contagious. So we're trying to move us all upward and forward and be proactive and positive. And there are others that are trying to hold us down, drag us back. A couple of things. Don't just try to, quote, cheer them up. Think about the behaviors that they're exhibiting that are a problem. Because you can't, as their boss, really coach attitude, but you can have more influence and you can actually coach on behavior. So there's a couple of things. Some people have a more negative bias to start with. They don't even realize it, perhaps. And what we can do is make them aware, but we can't make them aware by talking about their attitude as much as we can make them aware by talking about the behavior. Hey, did you know that when you do this, this is the implication to others? So the more that we can do that, the better. The more that we can focus this on the behavior, the more we actually have a chance. And recognize that sometimes people aren't even aware of the issues that it can be causing. They're unaware. They have a blind spot. So number 1, you may have to let it go. And number 2, you may need to work harder to be positive and help create the energy that you want. And number 3, if everybody knows that it's a couple of people, it's probably not having as much of an impact, perhaps. as it might otherwise. And lastly, coach behavior. Don't coach attitude, because you really can't coach attitude anywhere way. So there's some things that we've got. And so I'm going to go to question number 2 because I haven't heard anything from Marissa. So I'm ready to go on. Yes, Marissa?
Yep.
See, she's still there. She's not on video. She didn't want to be on video. So she's my verbal sidekick. Question number 2. How do you change your attitude when you're feeling defeated? If you're wondering why these questions are about attitude, it's because the webinar that I led yesterday was about attitude. So I wanted, this is a great question. And there are a lot of people that are feeling defeated right now because of everything that's going on. And I understand that. So the first thing I would say is, if you really are feeling defeated, I want you to recognize that you felt defeated before and gotten past it. So the first thing is, it doesn't have to be a forever feeling. And sometimes just that alone is enough to help us, right? So you felt defeated and gotten past it before, which means you can do it again. But what can you do if you're in that spot? Well, in the webinar yesterday, I talked about the cycle of thoughts and actions, and that our thoughts drive our actions, but that our actions can also drive our thoughts. So if we're feeling defeated, if we're thinking defeated thoughts, that's what's happening. So what we need to do is change our action. What can we do to our actions to change it? So think about it this way. If you just get up and clap your hands and start to act more enthusiastic, start to move forward, you will start to change the thoughts. It may not happen immediately. It may take some time, but you need to change one or the other, either the thoughts or the actions, to move into the direction that you want to go. And none of that is meant to say that, you know, you could feel very defeated. You could be having a lot of really tough stuff going on right now. I want to acknowledge that, and I recognize that. But the question basically says, I don't want to be there anymore. How do I change my attitude? And if that's what you're trying to do, you either have to change the thoughts, and that's where a lot of people try to go and say, I just can't get out of that mental rut. So change the action. Go do the thing that gets you excited. Take a long walk. Do something. Spend time, even if it's virtually, with someone that lifts your spirits. Do something that changes your action that will help to drive you to different thinking. Okay, so that's how you can change your attitude there. Question number 3. I love this question. Cynical New Yorkers are difficult to change. What tools do you suggest? Well, certainly our friends in New York right now are dealing with as much or more than anybody else in the country or the world, and I understand that, number one. And I laugh because the cynical New Yorkers, well, there are cynical people everywhere, not just in New York. So that's why it makes me laugh about this. And the third thing I would say is, like, you do realize that the true answer to this question is like a one-day workshop, right? But I do want to say just a couple things, because we're talking now about change. And how do we help people change? And whether it's a cynical New Yorker and it's related to attitude, or whether it's anybody who's not wanting to learn how to use the web tools that you've given them, or whether it's anyone who just really doesn't want to use instant messenger or whatever it is, what do? Well, what you've got to do is you've got to recognize that change starts from the place of people have to recognize that they have some dissatisfaction with the way it is. They have to realize a vision of the changed state, and they have to know how to get there. If we pick a changed state, how do we get there? And there have to be some level of dissatisfaction. So, and here's the thing. If people don't want to change at some level, it could be that they are totally happy with the way things are. I don't want to change anything at all. The way that we can create dissatisfaction is to show them a picture of something better. Like, I have a pickup truck that was my dad's before he passed, and I love this truck, and I have no real desire to have another truck, in part because it was my dad's, and in part because I don't need another truck. But when I see the commercials for the pickup trucks that have a step on the bumper, like, the older I get, the more that step on the bumper is a really valuable thing for me. I'd really like to have that. What's happening? I become a little bit dissatisfied with the current truck because of the picture of a future state that's different, with a step on the bumper. So that's a silly example, but the fact is that when we can help people see why the change is beneficial to them, they will build enough dissatisfaction that we can get them to move. Then, of course, we have to help them see how they go about doing it. Now, there's a lot more to that, but it gives you a start. And it's not just for cynical people, and it's not just for New Yorkers, but it gets us over the hump. People have to see a vision of something better, and the more powerful and the more compelling and the more personal that is, the better. And recognize that as you create a better vision, you create dissatisfaction with the way it is today. And that's an important piece of this puzzle. And I see that I have some comments. So I'm going to see what I've got there. I see people saying hello. That is awesome. And someone asks, how is quarantining going so far? Well, I can say that it's a good question, actually, because how quarantining is going is different for everybody. Right? And as a leader, I would say that it's super important that you recognize that however it's going for you isn't necessarily how it's going for your team. I led a session for a client group the other day, all of whom are now quarantined, working from home, whatever words you want to use, sheltered in place. And I went around the group and I asked every one of them to just share a color, red, orange, green, as to how they were feeling right then. I didn't want them to justify it. No one was going to try to fix them. I just wanted them to say, are they feeling red, really having a hard time? Are they feeling orange? It's not easy, but I'm coping. Or are they feeling green? Things are feeling pretty good. And across a group of 20 people, there were people in all three groups. And so it's super important to recognize that while right now it's going okay for Kevin, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going okay for all of my team. And I need to be clued into where they are, not just where I'm at in my own little personal happy space right now. And the opposite could be true. You could be really struggling. Doesn't mean that that's where your team is. And so it's important that we keep all of that in mind. So I appreciate you asking, and I'm doing fine. But of course, that led me to think about a little bit more than that. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay. Question number 4. If I can get it to come up. There it is. And so I've answered 3 questions that came from my mini webinar yesterday that were more sort of attitude based. And now I've got a couple of more tactical ones that came in on the webinar on Wednesday. Now, when we do these mini webinars, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, and you can still sign up for the rest of that by going right there, keviniconberry.com/work. We're trying to answer some of the questions in these short webinars, but we're not getting to all of them. So we're capturing the rest, finding other ways to answer them, including right here. So here we go. Number 4, my team doesn't engage when I try to communicate via email. And it is hard to set up a meeting with voice as they are on calls. Any suggestions? Well, there's a couple of things that come to my mind here. Number 1, you have an expectation challenge. If you need them to be responding to emails and looking at emails, then you need to be setting a clear expectation that that's what you need, right? So maybe when everyone was in the office, that wasn't the way we did it. And so you may need to be clearer with them about that. You've got some way to get to them. And so you need to maybe say, we need to have a meeting so we can set some clearer expectations. And so if you're just not getting a response to email that says, hey, I need to talk or set up a meeting, then maybe you need to get clearer about that. But you're still saying, I still got to get through to him, Kevin. And so it may be a tool related thing. If you're having trouble getting them all with email in the meantime, depending on how big your team is, they've all got one of these, right? And chances are you have their cell phone numbers. And if you do, text them and say, hey, I sent an email. I need you to respond. Or set up a group text. And maybe that's not how you want to end up, and you'd rather end up an email, but maybe you need to go here to get their attention and say, hey, everybody, I don't want to send text, but I need to send it because I need to get it set up in a meeting. So really, this comes down to 2 things. It comes down to setting clear expectations with your team about how we're going to communicate about which things, number 1. And number 2, are the tools you're using right now working? And if they're not, you got to find another one in the short term. And if that's not the one you want to keep using, then once you do get them all together, you can have a different conversation and set some clearer expectations. Okay. All right. I see some other comments are coming in, and this is going to require my glasses, everybody. All right. So Tyler, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. Even once things go back to normal, Tyler says, even once things go back to normal, our teams will come out of this with a gift and new skills if we look at this as a chance to evolve. And I think you're right, Tyler. I think that I said back on about the 14th of March that the genie is out of the bottle. And there have been some people that have been wanting to go work from home for a long time, and now they got it, whether they liked it or not. And maybe they're not sure they like it as much as they did originally. But I think you're right that if as a leader or as a team member, use this as a chance. Now that people are starting to settle in a little, use this as a chance to say, how can we learn from all of this? And how can we use this for the future? Are there challenges in doing this remotely? Of course. And that's why we're here to help you deal with some of those, right? And some of those are nuances that there's work to be done there. There's no question. But this is an opportunity for us to, we're being forced to learn new skills. So if we will embrace that and use that moving forward, we've built a new set of skills that we can use after this far into the future. And here's something else that I know is that anytime a group of people go through something challenging together and come out on the other side, good things happen for that team. Think about this for your team as a chance for us to go through fire together and come out on the other side stronger and more connected. So as a leader, be thinking about how you can use that as well. Okay. I've got one more question that I had planned to do originally, if I can find it. It's a short question, and here it is. One of the things that Wayne talked about in the first webinar was doing a daily huddle or a daily stand-up. And so the question that came in was, is a quick daily stand-up with your team too much? And here's what I would say. It depends. Depends on a lot of things. I would say that if you were doing something like this before you sent everybody home, then by all means, I would probably keep doing it unless the team doesn't need it. Chances are that your team needs more communication, not less. So if they were used to that routine, I would definitely plan on keeping it. Will it evolve a little bit? Perhaps. Now, if you didn't do one before and you want to do it now, I would say try it. If you're asking the question, is it too much? Then maybe it is. That's the first thing. But the other thing is that maybe you don't go all in from we don't have any meetings to having a huddle every day. Maybe you say, hey, everybody, I want us to be better connected. I want to make sure we're still on the same page. Priorities continue to change. Let's have a huddle on Monday. And in fact, next week, let's have it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And see how it goes. After Monday, people may be saying, this is awesome. Well, then let's go ahead and have one Tuesday. So you don't necessarily have to jump in the deep end of the pool. Or you can say, next week, we're going to have one every day unless we find out it's not working. So my real point here is, how do you know if it's too much? Check with the team. Find out what the team thinks. Work from the team's perspective. Now, it's possible that you think it's needed and they don't. I mean, you can still override them, I suppose. But what you really want to do is get everyone to say, hey, is this working? And the more you can find out if it's working for them, the better chance you'll know if it's going to be. At least at a minimum, you have that input. And if you have reasons to meet that they're not seeing, now you have a chance to communicate what those reasons might be. All right? Okay, awesome. Miss Sidekick, Miss Marissa.
Yes.
I don't see anything that's come to you from the private chat.
We don't have anything.
That's why you haven't sent anything. And you don't have anything at all. So I'm going to close this up for today. And I'm going to tell you right now that I think if I can find it, and I can't find it quickly, I believe we're going to be back here at noon on Monday. Let's plan on us being back here at noon on Monday. So if you enjoyed this, I hope you'll come back. And if you're watching this later, of course, it was still valuable, so you can still come back at noon Eastern time on Monday. We're going to continue to place those here. We're also going to continue to place these later with the help of the lovely and talented Marissa on our site. And I'm going to ask, I know that there's someone in the Facebook chat that can put this in there. I'll do it as well. But on our ongoing portal here, we have this portal that we call I'm going to put it right here for everybody. It's our COVID-19 site, and we call it our portal for remote workers, remote team members. And there's continuing to be more free stuff put in there. In fact, I talked today with someone about something else we're going to add, and Marissa goes, "Oh no," because she's the one that maintains it. But we'll be putting these videos in there as well over time. So come back next week. We'll see you again. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for your questions. We're going to keep doing this. So if you're watching this later and you have a question, put it in the comments. We'll see it and we'll talk about it the next time we come around. Thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. And if you are like me and celebrate Easter, have a wonderful Easter. And we'll be back on Monday. Until then, be safe, be well, be remarkable. We'll see you soon.